and welcome to another video from oorail. So this is it. This is the big tour video. I know people have been looking forward to this one, and I do apologize that it took me a little longer than I was expecting to get around to filming it, but I got some time this evening to go ahead and film it, so I'm going to give you guys the full tour, and starting off with the new workbench. So you wouldn't have seen this yet because it hasn't been in any of the videos. But while I was building the layout extension, I thought it'd be a perfect time to go ahead and maybe build a little bit of a workspace underneath the layout. So you can see here, I've got a H&M safety miner. It's the export model. I picked it up from a guy in Canada. In fact, I picked up quite a few bits of H&M equipment over the past couple of months. You can also see I've got a trusty Bachmann DC controller as well, the helping hands, and I've got a new test track. So you can see here I've got two test tracks. One's connected to the safety miner and the other one's spliced in to that Bachmann controller, and that gives me something that I can use to test out new locomotives when they come in. So I get a lot of second-hand locomotives, as well as locomotives I've picked up on Hatton's pre-owned. So this gives me a chance to kind of test them out before I have to run them on the main layout. I also have an awful lot of extra space now, so I can work on various different projects and stuff down here, whether it's loco repairs or building stuff or painting things or weathering things. So I thought this would be a nice addition. Now I just I installed the light. You can see if I pan it over, you can see that it's not too long. It's about just under 4 feet of track, I think, is in there, and I have a set of insulated points. So there's 2 sets of points there with a set of insulated plastic fish plates, so I can test locomotives going over the points as well, which is always handy. So it's not something you normally get with a rolling road. You can't actually test it with a rolling road on the real track. You can't test it on curves, you can't test it on points. So points are usually the trickier things, so it gives me a chance to do that. And like I said, I installed a fluorescent light up there, so it's well lit instead of my usual kind of dark and dingy lighting here in the basement. And the coolest thing is, it's actually underneath the layout extension. So you can see there, that's the Pendolino you saw on the opening credits of the video, and there's also some other locos up there, and then there's the main duet that's powering the outer loop of the track. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to start off with the original section of the layout and just kind of show you where it is in relation to everything else, and give you an idea of what we're going to do over the next couple of months. Now I'm going to shoot these kind of full-scale layout tours twice a year. I'm going to shoot them right before the two main weekends that I do a lot of layout work. So for example, it's coming up on Memorial Day weekend. I think Memorial Day weekend is about 2 weeks or so, just under 2 weeks. And that's a big kind of bank holiday type weekend here in the States. And I think it's a bank holiday in the same weekend as a different bank holiday in the UK as well. So I try to get that particular weekend. I have some time off work, so I get an awful lot done over that particular weekend. So I decided what I do is I'd shoot the tour before that weekend, so you can see the progress in an update video that I'll do after that weekend. And then the second time I'm going to shoot it in the year is right before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is another American holiday over here, and it's another kind of long weekend, and usually it's a 4-day weekend if I get time off work. So what I normally do is spend some time with family, and then I get some time down here in the evenings to work on the layout. So I think that weekend I'll also get kind of a lot done on the layout. So we'll shoot an update video right before that weekend as well. So that's twice a year you guys should get full tours, and so you can get kind of an idea of the progress. In between those videos I'm going to do hopefully more regular layout updates, and I'm going to, because the layout is so big, and you'll see that in a second, I'm going to actually break the layout updates down into their various sections of the layout. So you may see 5 or 6 layout updates in a particular month, focused on different areas, and I'm going to bounce around a little bit from project to project just to keep things interesting. Alright, so this is the main workbench, so everything's going to be moved here over the next couple of weeks. You can see I'm going to add some shelving, probably along here and to the sides. I got a lot of stuff like paints and stuff like that, and might throw up some postcards or something. So if people want to send in a postcard or a train photo or something like that, you can, let's put up the email address, you can just email it to, and we can go from there. Alright, so I'm going to go back over to the original part of the layout, and we'll start down that section. Okay, so we're starting off the tour at the very beginning. So what you're looking at here is actually the original double oorail layout. If you've ever watched my how to build a shelf layout video, it's one of the first videos I did for the double oorail channel. Basically a bunch of photos that showed you how I constructed this thing. This was actually the lower section that was in there before I built the upper section. Now the reason I put the full layout a little bit higher was basically so the dogs didn't mess with it. So the dogs don't really mess with this at all, but I wanted to keep them away from the main layout, just in case they decided to jump up on it or kind of get a little curious about it. So this here is currently Loco Storage, but what I'm planning to do is this section's pretty long. I think from here all the way to the back wall is about 20 feet, and by about 1.5 to 2 feet wide. So what I'm planning on doing from about here all the way back to the walls, I'm going to go put some of the same 4 foot long by 2 feet wide plywood down along here, and I'll probably reinforce the edge here with some legs or something like that all the way to the floor. And what I'm planning on doing is putting in an Irish rail and CIE kind of end-to-end layout. I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be a kind of miniaturized version of the Tralee to Farm 4 line. I've been on that line quite a bit. I went to and from college and when I was a kid, so I think that'll be kind of nice to do that. And I have quite a bit of Murphy's models, Irish rail, and CIE rolling stock, so I think that'll work out pretty well. I'm also planning to cut this section out, so this, you kind of have to duck under this. This is only about 3.5 feet high, so right now I'm not too old. I'm only about 37 or so I can get under this pretty easily. But when I get older, I'm not going to be able to get under that quite as well as folks like Graham and Dave have pointed out. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out and just make it easier to get around the whole layout. And with that in mind, on this other side, it's about 1 foot wide and goes back about 18 feet or so to there. And so what I'm planning on doing is I picked up a few Norfolk Southern American locomotives, HO scale. I think I'm going to do a kind of a short end-to-end layout of just the line that's right here by my house. It's pretty simple. It's kind of scenic there. It's got a nice little river going beside it, and has some interesting railroad features. So I think it might be cool to have a go at doing an American railroad on that side. So we'll still have the main British 00 scale layout on top here. We'll have the Irish rail, CIE, Tralee to Farm 4 line here, and then we'll have the American HO scale setup going there. And you can see here I have a ton of rolling stock and locomotives. This is only a small subset of what I actually have. It kind of continues around to the other side, and then I also have boxes of stuff as well. So as you can guess, I'm quite a bit behind on the fleet videos, but you should see plenty of training videos over the coming months as I get a little bit more organized. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise the camera up a little bit so that you can see the main part of the layout. I can't really go much further than this. There's a doorway there, and then there's also a doorway on the other side, so pretty much about as far as I can get with this section of the layout. And like I said, this is the original phase 1 section, so I'm going to tilt the camera just a little bit, and hopefully I can raise this without causing too much trouble or disturbance. Alright, you can see there, it's starting to see the main part of the layout. Alright, I'll walk it down about here. Okay, so off to the left hand side is our terminus station project. I've taken out the platform and the platform canopy as well as the back walls, because those didn't turn out quite as well as I'd liked, so I'm in the process of redoing those. I'm also going to do an upcoming video. We tested out the camo paint on for weathering that I saw in David Glass's video, and that worked out really well, so I'm going to try that on this section here. But I thought before I did that, I'd leave these coaches in here so you could get kind of an idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished. So got that nice Carlisle wall along the back here from Smart Models, and then we'll have all this track weathered and the scale scenes platforms in between. And you can see here we've got 2-3 lines for EMUs, and then the rest go on to the main section of the layout. So this is going to ultimately be the terminus station with the double arched canopy, and it'll probably go back right there to the end of the point work there. And then you can see the Class 56 is going around, and you might recognize the section on the right there. This section right here is the Sydney Gardening section. Now I've started to redo some of this. I need to put the mod rock stuff with the Woodland Scenics, what's this stuff called? The plaster roll stuff. Need to put that stuff in there, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Mainly because of the weather. So the weather's warmed up quite a bit now, so I'm going to tackle that project hopefully next couple of weeks. You guys might know Mark, who does the Western Centurion channel. He very graciously has offered to go take some photos and video for me of the various features at Sydney Gardens. So since this kind of section here was loosely modeled on Sydney Gardens, I'm going to redo some of this when he gets a chance to actually take those photos for me. So that whole section on this side on the right is kind of on hold. The big project that I've been working on is basically extending the retaining walls from the back here all the way down to the front. So it's going along that back wall, and it's about 20 feet long, so it's quite a bit of retaining wall that needs to be built. I've got it about 80% complete, so I'm probably going to start installing and weathering it, but obviously I need to weather the track first, so hoping to get that done actually over Memorial Day weekend. It's one of those projects. And I'm going to raise the camera up a little bit further, and this is quite a few locomotives kind of sitting there in that section, but you should be able to see the track work. So we have the 2 main loops. If I raise it up all the way to the top there, you can kind of get a feel for the full size of the layout. See the Class 56 looks a little dwarfed there. As it's going along that section, that part of the wall all the way to the end is about 12 feet long from there. And as it goes around to that section there, from there the steam locomotive on the left. It goes all the way back to the wall there. That section is about 18 to 20 feet long, and then it goes off to the right into the kind of transition section, and then into the new part of the layout. So the plan for this section isn't too ambitious. Basically, like I said, this is the Sydney Garden section. We're going to put in probably some sort of scenic break right here. I'm thinking either a park or some houses or something like that up along the top, and kind of a tunnel that will go to about here, and that will allow us to break into this section. Here, haven't quite decided if I'm going to stick with the original plan, which was like a large TMD, or if I'm going to end up putting in some platforms and making it more like a station. Where the EMU is right here on the left, that's going to be a small station. It's actually a passing loop as well for the third rail line, and I need to do the third rail track from here all the way back to the station. I actually have all the track to do that, but it's a real painstaking process. So I think I'm going to weather the track and do that first before we try to put in that third rail line. And what we'll do next is this section here along the back, just on the other side of this, to the right in the foreground, is Chippenham Junction, and then behind it is the new Kings Road Tunnel project. What I'm going to do next is basically take the camera down to this section right here and give you a closer look of how it looks that way. So the lighting down here isn't that great. I need to install some extra lighting, but this will give you an idea of some of the locos that you'll be seeing over the weeks and months. Got quite a few. I'm also going to show you the storage system that I put in place. So you might see what we've done here is basically bolted some plywood to the underside of these C brackets that hold up the main part of the layout, and by doing that it actually gives us some storage space for some locomotives. So you can see here, this is actually a C bracket that I haven't actually done anything to yet. Now I know the lighting is not so great down here, but you can see there it's pretty simple. It's a couple of 2x4s, so got a 2x4 bolted to another 2x4. You can see it's substantially bolted to the wall in a couple of places, and that's obviously bolted into the frame of the house. And then we have this other 2x4 here, so it's just basically creating a giant U or a giant C shape. And these are basically pretty much the same build all throughout the layout, and you can see there, then they're from the top we screw down wood screws into this in a number of places. And what I did was I basically just took the pine wood plank here and bolted it to the underside, and then put another piece in the front just because it wasn't quite long enough. And you can see there how I bolted it in with these slightly higher quality wood screws. And then I took this cheap bit of pine wood kind of edging and just put it in there so that the locos themselves, there's enough room to get the locos in and out, but it also stops the loco from actually falling out of the thing if it shakes or anything like that. Now we don't normally get earthquakes here in Ohio, but we've had a few because of the fracking over the last couple of years, so probably like maybe once or twice a year. But obviously we wanted to secure this in pretty well, so I've got enough space for 1, 2, 3, I think 4 more on this side, so we'll get those in. But you can see there, it's a good way to create some storage space. And then once I get all these locos kind of stashed away that way, I'll be able to start work on the Irish rail layout that's going to go in here. And what I'll do is, if I move it up onto this end, you can actually see what's sitting on top, which is, you've probably seen this in some of our videos before. There's Class 56, Steam Loco as well. And you can see over on the side is very familiar Sydney Garden section. So I'm gonna go work the camera over this way and let you see more. So this here is the main control section for the main 2 loops, as well as part of the 3rd rail line. We have a standard Bachmann DC controller, and it's actually been piped into this H&M multi-pack unit. I really like this. Gives you the input voltage, the current draw, and I moved the temporary wiring here. This is actually wiring for a signal I've been messing with. You can see there, you can see the current draw on it as well. And then this is actually a unpowered multi-pack DC controller that's plugged into this that allows me to control the locomotives. Now the coolest thing with this is because I'm using the Bachmann DC controller as a input source, I can actually tune it up and down a little bit to fine tune how responsive this actually is. So you get the big kind of chunky knob that you're used to at H&M. It gives you that nice kind of click feel. If I demonstrate, you get that nice click, and it's got very nice close control, and you can kind of tweak it with the Bachmann controller here on this side. And if I scooch the thing over a little bit, you can see I've got the dynamics for the DCC. It goes into some wiring and a switch, and I also have the Electron that powers the other line currently. And while I'm over this section, you'll have to excuse the mess a little bit, but you can see we got more Loco Storage, more Loco Storage, and more Loco Storage. And you can also see some Woodland Scenic stuff over there. And if I pull this up here, you can see, if I turn off the Loco there, you can see what's going on up here, which is we hit the green arrow. It's in that corner. So when you're looking at the terminus station is back this way, off towards the right hand side, and this is the wall you're looking at. So if I pan the camera around, if you happen to watch our Twitter feed, you'll notice that this particular tunnel was something I tweeted earlier in the week, and it's our new Kings Road tunnel project. It's nowhere near complete, but it's all scratch built, and I'll explain what's going on there in just a second. And if I'm gonna pick the camera up, hopefully it doesn't shake too much, but you can see we have a bridge over there. That stuff in the back is the new section, and then what we have here is Chippenham Junction, which you guys are all probably very familiar with, maybe a little sick of at this point. So we'll be showing you some more of that in a minute. But what I'm going to do is move the camera back behind me a little bit so I can explain what's going on here. Okay, so right here we have the Kings Road tunnel, and then over on this side we have the Chippenham station. And so what we're actually going to do is we're going to add some more of the textured retaining walls on this side. Now you may remember over on the entrance to the Sydney Garden section, I had actually scratch built some arches. So we're going to use the same technique to scratch build some arches along this wall right here. And what you can't see is where my finger is, all the way up to this point here, and all the way back up to that girder bridge in the background. It's actually going to be a elevated track section, so we're going to start at base level and move all the way up to that particular girder bridge over there, and then that's going to take it up and over the transition section into the new part of the layout as well. So that'll actually give us 2 lines that transition from the original phase 1 over to the final phase, which I think was phase 3. So here in this section right here, I'm currently just using it for some storage. You can see we have our Q-Gon and our CMX track cleaner and the trusty class 20s that I use along with some track erasers. But what we're going to do here is it's going to be a scenic section, probably going to be some extended baseboards out to about here somewhere, so I can get some point work in, because right where the camera is sitting there's actually a set of points, and so we want that to kind of branch off here and into this section, and this might be some sort of set of sidings or something to that effect, maybe a lower level station, not quite sure yet. But basically along the top here we're going to have a road section, and that's actually going to be a bridge once it gets to Chippenham Junction over the top of the tracks to the other side. So the section that's kind of right about here is going to be a bridge that goes over between the two, so basically this will all seamlessly transition. Now the coolest thing is up here on top we're going to add some scenic buildings and a kind of a street scene in a kind of a more urban setting. So this will kind of have this kind of industrial kind of factory type feel that you would see in maybe someplace like Newcastle or London. So this should actually look pretty nice. So I'm going to go and let you see what's going on at Chippenham Junction, and we'll continue the tour. Okay, so what I've done is I've moved the camera now down onto the far end of that girder bridge. So here on the left hand side is Chippenham Junction, and then you can just kind of make out here on the right, this is the girder bridge. There's the two class 20s, and you can sort of see the walling there on the right, where I was talking about the King's Road project. So what's going to happen is we're going to have scenery up here with some walls and kind of, like I said, a sort of a industrial kind of urban top scene there. And what we're going to do is we're going to have this really impressive looking bridge come across the top there and sort of end up transitioning into the upper part of the wall here. So you may be wondering why I had left that like that, and this is why I wanted to split the Chippenham Junction scene in two with that particular kind of a bridge going along there. And I may put in a footbridge or some sort of stairs or something like that to go from the platform up to that upper bridge. I'm not quite sure yet. I've been researching a couple of different bridges, and there's some quite impressive looking concrete bridges and brick bridges in and around the Leicester area. So I might take a look at those, or I might go a different route, but it'll definitely be scratch built, and like I said, it'll run from about here across in a kind of a diagonal way. I'll kind of split the scene up. Now where all these locomotives are stored here in the front, this is going to be our second kind of larger TMD area, so we'll have a similar sort of engine shed type setup across the center here. It'll be a lot bigger though. It'll probably be double length and probably at least 2 buildings wide with sidings on either side. So that in itself should look pretty impressive, and that will actually kind of finish up the scenery on this section. So I actually have most of the buildings built for this particular section. Starting to plan the bridge, like I said, and then I got to build the retaining walls for this. So I'm kind of hoping I'll make some good progress on this over the next couple of weeks, particularly with the Memorial Day weekend coming in. So I hope that I can get that rolling pretty soon. I also need to do the bridge ends, but if I pan the thing across there, you can sort of see down the girder bridge as well, and then off to the right here you can see the tunnel entrance there, and we'll put in kind of the girder fascia right there, and we'll probably have either a wall or some kind of building up against the edge there. Alright, so if I pan around, you'll see the brewery, and the brewery is actually one of the few Metcalf kits that I have. And I'm just going to move this around a little bit. And I'm going to use the same technique. You can see here, one of the things I don't like about the Metcalf kit, says Graham knows very well, is I don't like that kind of edging on the side. Now you can get over it by kind of blending stuff in, or using some brick edging. That won't work so well with the brewery here, but we'll figure something out. Also need to fix the edging layer as well with a knife. That cardboard doesn't cut very well. And if I spin this around, you'll see the very familiar factory building and some other stuff that's going on. So I'm going to go move the camera a little bit back onto the bigger tripod, and we'll continue the tour. Okay, so I've moved the camera probably, I don't know, 10 feet or so back from where I was, and just one thing I want to show you is our kind of cool box selection. So you can see here we have all the boxes from the various Locos and rolling stock that I picked up, and actually stacked all the way from the top to the bottom. So if I using the camera mount here just a little bit, I can pan around a little bit, and you can see we have quite a few boxes, and we hang on to those. And you can see here we have a full leg on some sections as well, just to add some extra support in the front, because this is a little bit wider. You can see there's the girder bridge we were just kind of sitting behind, the brewery, the fantastic MalroyScenery.com factory building, and then you can see if I pan it back, Chippenham Junction is back there. There's the Kings Road project. You have to excuse the mess here, as I'm still cleaning stuff up, but you can see here this section here from about here to about there is about 10 feet or so, I think. Those are 4-foot sections, and there's half a section back there, so it's about 10 feet. So the layout's a pretty decent size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move this camera in a minute up to kind of a higher section over here, so that you can see the thing a little bit better. But if I pan it up, you can see it transitions from the transition section into the third and final phase, and there's the pendolino along with some other tools. So I'm going to go move the camera, and we'll do the final part of the tour. Okay, so what you're looking at here is basically the top section of the transition section, and excuse me for a second while I move the LCD part of the camera around. Alright, so you'll have to excuse the mess. I actually moved a whole bunch of locomotives that were sitting on the new sectional layout over here, just so I had some storage space. But basically what you're looking at here is the town scene. So we have the factory there. You can see we have the low relief houses that I've actually wired these up, but I haven't put the roofs on them yet. So I actually have 3 sections that go all the way to the level crossing, which I don't think you can see because I have too much junk there. It might be right about here. But basically the plan is to have the low relief housing up to the level crossing, a signal box here, and then kind of a station kind of scene over here. Here in the center we have the down here we have the pub from Scale Scenes, and then what we're going to do is down through the section here we have some corner shops and kind of a town scene that we're going to put through. Our road, which you've seen a couple of times, runs all the way down to here. It's going to go into kind of a car park, and you'll have the crossing over onto your side. I think what I'm going to do is on this side I'm going to have a kind of a small bridge or some sort of scenic break where I can sort of make curve the road or something like that, just so it looks like it's going off and continuing on. Where the girder bridge is, which is right here, is going to come into a kind of raised section from the edge here over to the road, and then that's going to continue on as a raised section this way, while at the same time kind of giving some covered storage there to those sidings. So if I flip things around in terms of track, there's a couple of sidings here. This section is kind of splits off right before the brewery, and the third rail line kind of continues on along the wall, and then this kind of splits off and joins the new section. So if I move the camera around here a little bit and loosen it, you should hopefully be able to see these sidings. And just here where the pendolino is kind of like the main transition section into the new part of the layout. So this kind of a three-way pico junction, this actually goes off into, on the first prong, into some insulated fish plates, and into that kind of forked bit of track there. There's a terminated platform right there. And then this is the third rail line that continues along the wall. These two spurs here lead off into the sidings I just showed you. And then this is the outer track here with the pendolino on it. So if I move it along a little bit, you can see the main section of, I think this was kind of phase 2 / phase 3. So what we have here is actually our Triang Series 4 layout that's completely isolated from the rest of the layout. This here is an old Triang power controller. I'm actually going to build a shelf for that underneath where it's sitting, so that it's not sitting out there on the main part of the layout itself. And the third rail line is going to continue on to about here. We'll have some kind of scenic break, and then it runs into that kind of MGR line around the outside. I have a couple of loops, as you've seen from the last layout update, and I'm going to move the camera over a little bit so it's a little easier for you to see those. Okay, so this is the main outer loop that you've seen the pendolino run on, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to power the pendolino up, because this makes the layout so big. This just makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. So as the pendolino moves around there, you're going to see that section's going to be kind of a more rural section. In this corner here, the plan is to have a large, full-scale, low-relief cooling tower for a power station. And so you can see where the MGR wagon is. So from the third rail line, it forks over on that other corner. We'll have the MGR wagons can come into here, and then they'll back out. Yeah, I know that's not proper merry-go-round, but there wasn't enough space to get that to go all the way around. But there is the point work there to send it in and around, so it'll be reasonably prototypical. But the main thing is to get that full-scale cooling tower in here, and I think it's probably enough space for a quarter section of it, and it'll look pretty good. You'll have to excuse the kids' storage mess down there. And then I'm not quite sure what we're going to use in this section. It'll probably be an extension of the kind of power theme. Might have some more kind of grass type scenery, but I did want to have kind of a seawall in place somewhere around here. So what I might do is I might use this section here and maybe drop it off a little bit and add a little bit of extra scenery on the corner here to give it kind of the appearance that it's kind of a raised seawall. That, or I might do some sort of kind of hillside or something over here with the lines kind of tunneled through it. I do know that we'll have, like I said in a previous video, a couple of loops here. I've got the outer loop already done. You can see this loop's almost done. And I've got 2 more, and then 2 more here, so I give you about 6 loops in total. If I pan it back this way, on the opposite side here, plan on having kind of a small NCB kind of depot. I've already got the point work kind of laid out there, and I can get to and from the main loop as well as the 2 inside loops. And I've got a lot of NCB branded wagons and locos, especially they got the Sentinel. I've got a couple of, I think, J94s on order. So I think I can actually make that look pretty nice. Then on this side, we're actually going to have right here in the kind of foreground is going to be a large station area. Just going to split off a little bit. Still messing with the track diagram for that, so we'll figure that out. On this side here though, I'm going to end up putting in the kind of the express dairies milk depot right here, and probably some platforms or something so it can look like you can change trains between these two inside loops and the old Triang Series 4 section. And that basically covers most of it. Where the camera is currently sitting, I actually have, if I can bend the thing forward here, which I should be able to do. Have to excuse the rattling of the camera here, but you can see here, this is actually where the pendolino is going to come flying through in just a second. Tighten that back out. You'll see the pendolino on the outer loop coming in. And so what the plan is we'll actually have this back off here into a set of sidings, and it'll kind of split out this way a little bit. And so I think I can get a right where the controller is behind the camera, right this way. I should be able to get a couple of sidings in, so I might make a nice TMD. And if I do that, I should have enough space back in this way a little bit. If I add some baseboards off to the left here, to actually put in a turntable and a couple of extra sheds in there. So that's the plan with that. So let me know what you think. That's the current kind of tour of the layout. It kind of gives you kind of a good idea of what it looks like and the kind of scale of it. I'll put up some photos and the full dimensions as well as the track plan on the website once I've got this bit done. So next video, we're kind of rattled on quite a bit now for this one. Next video I'll give you an idea of what's coming up with the channel and the website and some of the other kind of cool stuff that we have in the pipeline. And I want to thank all the subscribers, and you guys have been really patient. I've been quite busy with work and some other stuff. So now that's kind of all calmed down a little bit, I can get back to work on the layout and hopefully for the rest of the year prioritize it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Any suggestions? Always glad to get some second opinions. So let me know what you think. And until next time.